it's 6:30 already? What the fuck? I was not noticing that. So we got some volume to the downside. Oh shit. I thought I still had a little, I thought I had like 5 more minutes. Let's see if this is a S1 rejection here. We are in a downtrend. Looking like we're getting some pretty solid volume. Let's see how we end here. Price was not quite overbought, but we were pretty high up there. Rejection of S1, respecting the downtrend structure underneath the 500. Liddy, second candle to go red. Oh my god, that's a big candle already. We have moved about 3,000 pips. Let's see if we are making this initial descent. But we are getting dangerously close. Like, I'm looking at all these areas where price has kind of bounced up. These areas, which is pretty much S1, S2. It doesn't leave a lot of room. Ah, mosquitoes! So big ass wick to the bottom. Big ass wick. Remember what I was talking to? Sprayed some of that mosquito spray in my mouth. Remember what I said yesterday, for those of you that were on towards the end, about, you know, who's able to do shit like this. So make sure you don't get bamboozled. Big wick to the bottom. A minute and a half left. Ugh. Is there news right now? We had FOMC news, right? Was that today or yesterday? Today. Oh, we got PMI later. Oh, we had Jackson Hole Symposium. That's one of the biggest economic meetings that happens every year. I want to go to it one of these days. Anybody can go, actually. Possibly. What I would say is, oh no, actually no. We would need to see like a push of, like, cross lines would be needing to come down. The only thing I would say is it's just rejection, right? It's just support. It's big support. This previous movement over here, maybe not actually. I mean, it is a W here on the cross lines, like, you know, before 6:30, you know, W to go up, but it's still not that strong. And I try not to use the data prior to 6:30. Unless it's like trends, right? Like if it's like the trend structure or like a wedge forming, then yes. But Other than that, you know, we trade what we currently see. You know, and right now, I'd be in a question mark right now. I'm still, so what's the last movement from the gold zone? What do we have? Rejection of what? So support, that price just supported the level, but what was the last gold zone movement? What was the last gold zone rejection? Remember, rejection is the top side. So what did price reject most recently? S1. S1 gold zone, right? Price broke underneath S1, went back up to S1. Broke underneath S1, went back up to S1. So any average day, I would be expecting this to come down. The only thing that's not average is this 630 candle. You know, there's no news, and I have no idea why. So if I don't know, I'm still looking at the downside, right? We're underneath the 500. We just came from being slightly overbought. We got litty candles that are red. The only thing that is not matching up is this wick, right? So thinking based off of deduction, almost everything says, you know, down. The deduction part is the wick. You know, if the wick is the only thing telling me, okay, don't go down, then I'm going to heavily, you know, still look at everything else that is still telling me to go down. Because there's not a lot. For me to look to the downside, there's not a lot standing in the way, right? Only that wick. Just that wick. That wick is the only thing standing in the way. If not, imagine, right? If the wick wasn't there, it'd be a pretty normal ass entry to the downside, right? It was off perp, S1, downtrend line, red lady, underneath the 500. So that's the type of analysis you guys got to be doing in your head as you guys are looking at this, right? And then you make the educated decision, like, okay, there's 4 or 5 things going, and there's maybe one thing going against us. You know, it's worth the risk. Even if it's wrong. If it's wrong here at S1 and it goes back up, take the buy as price breaks up above S1, ride that up to P. Right? Then we play the whole game of chess. What is above us? We got 500 level P gold zone. So if it was to break up, I already know how I'm going to make up the money, right? I hope you guys see that. Like every time you guys are taking your entries, I hope you already see where the gold is, right? The roadmap. Where's the on-ramp? Where's the off-ramp? So we are, right? We're still reading these candles. These candles, not so much volume to the downside. We're getting 2 pretty big wicks here. So price might not like going down, right? Similar to yesterday, if you guys are looking at yesterday as price dropped down, we didn't hit the gold zone all the way. We hit the level, and we just wicked on the level for like an hour. And then we bounced right back up, shot straight back up to the gold zone. Pretty easy. That's pretty easy movement if you stayed on the charts. And even after that, there's only one candle that breaks above the level above perp. 805 was the only candle that broke above perp. If you entered in there, rolled that up to the gold zone, that's another 850 pips right there. 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. 20 minutes you would have had almost 900 pips. So and yes, like when we look at it after the fact, that's everything. So being able to see, right? Because that's what we called out yesterday. We called out as we were getting in this to the downside. Ruben exited as price broke and then approached the level and the downtrend and the low of the day. You know, that's because we know that there's a chance, right? All of these areas of support and resistances. It could be the gold zone. It could be a trend line. It could be the low of a day. It could be the 500. It could be the high. It could be, you know, there's so many things that support and resistance can play. As we're approaching those areas, you know, you make the decision on, you know, are you going to ride it out? Are you going to let it be? Are you going to be smart and take an exit? Once again, looking at today's situation, once again, the only thing standing in the way are the two wicks, but we've made a hard rejection of S1. Liddies are still red. Let's see if we get this pushed down to S2. And where did we just come from, right? We just came from being overbought. Not 100% overbought, but for the time being, it's close enough to being overbought. There we go. We're about 85% there. Let's see if price just gives us a drop, or maybe we might dance around a little bit. Looking left, S2 is an area. Well, we did support up from this area before. So it was August 13th R1. Today's S2 was an area that price kind of consolidated. I mean, I'm gonna treat it like any other day, you know, wait for the candle to close, see what type of, you know, support or rejection or continuation we're getting. And you guys can, I mean, when you guys look at these charts, you know, the longer you guys look at them, the more you'll, once you realize where our entries are usually the beginning, then it gives you a lot of confidence to just let the strategy play out, you know, give it its time to do what it needs to do, but to also be smart, right? It's a balancing act, which I will admit is not easy at the beginning, but it's only not easy because it's one of those things where you just have to, you know, drink the juice, you know, drink the cult juice. You just gotta drink it and believe it. But for the majority, it takes time to realize the value of letting something allow you to be vulnerable. Because we were, you know, the reason why we don't trust things like this is because we were born, it's the survival instinct, right? To be defensive, to question things you don't know, to question something that is too good to be true. But you'll learn this is something that I've, you know, once you repeat it, I can tell you guys how I've done this for years and a decade and plus, but until you guys experience it, you won't believe it as in depth as I believe it. And that's why when everybody, when newbies, not you guys, but people who come to me and talk to me and then they never join up, I always tell them it's okay. I understand you don't see the value yet, but just watch and you'll see over time. So we still got some selling off volume here, a little wick to the bottom. We got news supposed to be coming up soon. Oh, now is news. So we're heading to the gold zone. I'm about 200 in profit, so I'm moving my stop loss 150.50 in profit at the gold zone. I'm floating like 200, 210 right now. Let's go. There it is. There it is. At the trend line, and I'm gonna exit right there. So 220 at my trend line at the level. I'm good with that. Two accounts, 440. What did that take me? 15 minutes? Done. Done. Let's see if price continues to drop here. I'm already exited. Got price supporting up. I would have been tapped out right there anyway, so I'm all right with that. I'm done for the day too, Irfan. And I mean, and look at it, right? Overall, what is this? What is this movement? What is this? What is this movement? Somebody tell me, what is this movement? What is this normal juice movement? Yep, but what is it? What indicator? What indicator to indicator type of move? That's it. This is normal gold zone to gold zone. Right? And that's all we have to do. And that's why I emphasized it so much about, yes, the wick to the bottom at 630 kind of sucks. But look at everything else, right? Perp, S1 gold zone, the downtrend line from London session. Liddies were still red, slightly overbought. And look at that. We exited getting the most out of this candle movement. Done. See, and this is what I mean. The more that you guys see this every day, you know, the more it reinforces. Even for myself, you know, like I repeat this shit every single day because I remind myself this is how I make money. You know, and I have to remind myself to be blessed that I was able to figure this out and to never take it for granted, you know, because just like that right there, look at this rejection, this support. You know, if I didn't move stop loss into profit at S2 and then in profit at the level, I'd be not happy right now, you know. Could it still come down? Yes, but the point is I'm done 15 minutes into the day. And that's what real trading is about. I don't care. Other people might stay on the charts for hours on end, but that is not how I'm going to live my life ever. So I took 220 on both accounts. So that's 440 for the day in 15 minutes. Like I can live happily like that shit, you know? And I just found out, because Brian did a little more research, but when I first got my accounts, I could only have 3 funded accounts open at a time. I don't know when they changed it, but you can have 5. You can have 5 open at any given time. So I think maybe next week I'm going to do 2 more express accounts and then get 5 accounts. And then like for real, like making $200 on 5 accounts is the G. So at that point it really makes things so much easier, you know, on the mentality, you know, like it's easy, guys. It's easy, and that's how you leverage, and that's how you incrementally make more money. That's why for everybody that always says like you need large accounts and shit, I'm like, no you don't. Like realistically, guys, realistically, we trade with 2 grand every day. You know, like if you think about it, like that's why I think the biggest kind of scammy thing about the funded accounts with how they market it is like, oh, you have $50,000 in buying power, but I'm like, no, you really have $2,000, because if you lose 2,000, you lose the account, which means, you know, it's all just marketing though, and that's something I want you guys to understand, and that's why I tell you guys to read shit so that you guys can understand things yourselves. But in all reality, you know, even when you look at the like the $100,000 account, I think that's only like 5 grand a day, right? So realistically, you're only they're giving you $5,000 to trade with. You know, with the 50K, you're given 2K to trade with. So don't get that shit twisted. Like, yes, is it cool to tell everybody we have a $50,000 funded account? Yes. Yeah, we can know, right? We can know that we really only have $2,000 to fuck around with. You know, if you, and don't get me wrong, it's an accolade. I want you guys to be proud of this shit, you know, but be realistic, you know, and don't be afraid to tell people the truth when they ask. But I am a firm believer in trading that when you trade, it's on a need to know basis, you know, in the most polite way. Fuck everybody else who doesn't understand what we're doing, because 99% of the time they're always going to have something negative to say, which you guys already know. So, but it is like most people don't even know. Like, even people who use funded accounts, they don't look at it as like, oh, I really only have $2,000. They think, oh, I have 50K. I'm like, that's a bad mindset to have going into trading, you know, because it fucks you up, you know. And the thing about the funded accounts and the marketing behind trading is everything they do and say is so that you guys have fault, right? So when trading doesn't work out for you, there's always some kind of fault that is then put back on you guys, right? And that's something that I don't do, because I'm honest and transparent about everything. So understand that, like, you know, don't get bamboozled by everything, you know. And if it is, ask me. Of course I'll be honest about it, but I am trying to arm you guys with all the right equipment so that whenever you guys go look at another funded account, whenever you look at another broker, you guys have this knowledge and experience to, you know, make an educated decision, as I always say. Because it's all bullshit. At the end of the day, the funded accounts don't want you to win, they want you to lose. They're a bank. And any bank, any broker, any bank doesn't want you to win. They want you to lose so that they can take your money. It's just like the casinos, right? So nobody's on your side. That's the one thing I've realized at a very young age, is nobody is on your side. I entered in at 6:30. I got into one contract at 6:30. And then when things when it ended and the next candle was like that wick to the bottom, I just jammed contracts. At that point, I just believed in it. I mean, from the moment 6:30 hit and I saw the volume to the downside, I believed in the gold zone to gold zone push already. Like, that's one thing you guys are always going to know about me, is I'm always going to trust a gold zone break. Unless we're oversold or overbought, right? Because let's briefly think about yesterday's entry to the top, right? I won't keep you guys too long. But let's briefly think about yesterday's entry, right? It was a very, very nice bullish engulfing to the top side. But we were overbought, right? That's the difference. Today, we were coming down looking for a sell-off while we were overbought. So you see how that works, guys? Is Yuzo in here? Yuzo, this is especially for you and everybody else, right? This is one of those times where if you had just today makes exactly, so it makes a lot of sense, correct? So that's just it, you know. Like, is it okay to take the loss yesterday, taking the buy up? Totally is. Sort of simple. Irfan, you got to be confident, Irfan. You got this. But that's the only difference, right? The only difference between yesterday's entry and today's entry is that we were trading with the cross lines, right? I stress this a lot. There's only really two indicators that I really try to stress with is cross lines, right? Overbought, oversold, and the 500, right? So for today, if we're looking at everything, we're under the 500. S1 rejection, perp rejection, downtrend line rejection, lady candle red, volume. So we got 6 reasons to believe the downside, and we have 1 reason to believe possibly not, and that 1 reason is just the wick to the bottom, you know. But that's why I brought up at the very beginning, I hope you guys heard me, I was like, who's able to do shit like that? Not you and I. Like, people who are fucking around making this candle go up and down 1,000 pips are the people who are going to make the decision on where this candle goes, you know. And then we're going to link that back to the juice strat, right? The juice strat tells us if we break or we bounce, we're going to run to the next gold zone. It's not 100%, but it's pretty up there with, you know, the 90%ish. So if that's what I'm already seeing is the initial movement of these people who are going to make the decision is down, and all my juice shit, all my juice indicators say down, I'm going to take the risk, right? Trading is all about risk, and I hope you guys are finding the joy in understanding risk, you know, because that shit translates to your lives 100%, you know. And I'm not going to get into some big spiel about it, but you know, I truly believe that not enough people take risk in their life, not because they're no, it is. It's like it's not because they don't believe in themselves. It's because they don't understand the risk. You know, a lot of people believe in themselves, but the moment they see the risk, they stop, right? It could be something as little as going up to the chick and asking her out, or going up to the dude and asking him out, or just telling them you're beautiful, you're handsome, or going for your job promotion. And I had this conversation with another friend the other day about him wanting to get a promotion at his job. And I was like, okay, did you tell your bosses that you are interested in the promotion? And he was like, no. I was like, why not? He was like, well, I'm a little bit scared. I was like, scared of what? Scared of working the same fucking position for the next year? And he was like, oh yeah. I was like, exactly. Like, you created a doubt in your head that really doesn't even exist outside of your head. You know? Like, the risk and the fear that you guys all create, it's all just in your head. It doesn't exist outside. It doesn't even become reality until you let it become reality. You know, it's a really powerful thing. Like, and I believe in that type of shit. You know, like I never let bad shit out. Even like when I'm sick, right? Like when I'm sick or when I'm hurt, I don't talk to you guys or tell you guys anything about it because I don't want to let that negativity out in the world. You know, like yes, I'm suffering during those weeks, but I don't need you guys to take even 1 ounce of energy out of your guys' day to worry about me. Like, yes, I know you guys care about me, and I know you guys probably worried maybe 1%, hopefully, but it's not something that I'm going to put out there, right? I treat things a little bit differently, but I think that's why there's more harmony in my life wherever I go. So, stop, you know, and implement these things in your daily lives. You know, I look at shit every day. That's the reason why I think I'm good in business, is because every time the moment I step out the door, even while I'm in my house, but the moment I step out my door and I say hi to the auntie on the left house who sells banh mi sandwiches, the moment I say hi to the uncle that's making sugarcane drinks, like I'm already asking myself, like, what are they risking? You know, what is their time? You know, why are they in the position they're in? Why can't they do more than they're currently doing? And it's not always a negative thing, right? Like it's to understand why they can't do more. That generational wealth gap trauma bullshit. You know, like at some point, if you're not doing anything, then you're the problem. You're the reason why your next generation is probably going to be in the same position that you are. You know, and I look at it. There's only time, money, and then people, right? Like with living a good life, and whatever you have more of, like you're supposed to be working on the other things. Like that's why I think life is simple, just like with trading, because if you have time, maybe you don't have money, and the people, the other part, you know, like you can go network, make friends if you have the time, and that usually ends up being money in the end, because you can do something. Like I've always been pretty broke, but I've always been rich in time and friends and network. You know, I call everybody a friend, but the moment you realize your network can turn into like your net worth is the moment that you realize the world should feel small, right? The reason why I like having Irfan on here, having Yuzo on here, having everybody, Joe fucking out there in Scotland, everybody all over the world. Like it's just, and outside of you guys, I still have a lot of friends. Even when I go to Singapore, I have a lot of friends in Singapore over there. So it's, I don't know. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. You know, it helps with being confident, even if you're not confident. Like, not fake it till you make it. Believe it until you achieve it. That's always what I say. Believe it until you achieve it. Don't let your guys' own thoughts kill your opportunity, because then it's just fucking, I don't know. Life is supposed to be memories that you guys make, and even though you guys might make memories every weekend, like, right, do the math. Do the math and see, like, okay, I can only make week memories on the weekend, which means 5 days, 6 days out the week I'm working. All that bullshit. But it's pretty serious. Like, I don't say, I laugh at it now because I'm in the position that I'm in, but I still did all of that. Like, I had to look at it that way and write shit down. It's the reason why I left Audi and Porsche. Really, really good, comfortable job at Audi and Porsche, but the moment I did the math in my head and I was like, I don't want this life. I don't care how much money I'm making. I looked at my bosses who were, general manager, general sales manager, finance managers, the owners of the company. I looked at their lives, and maybe the owners. The owners, yes, of course, they weren't even at the dealership. But everybody else in that dealership or company in general, right? Even in the business office side, I did not want their lives. So that was the one thing that quickly moved me to quitting and figuring, like, the trading shit out. So look at that shit. It scares you into reality. It scares you, maybe it scares you out of reality. I don't know. Some people do ask me how I think about that, life and reality and shit. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I just live my life the way I want it. And if it's not going the way I want it, I really quickly make a change. And I'm not afraid if the change is going to fail. Whether it's a success or a failure, I just move forward. Yeah. Because I have failed. I have probably failed more times than most people try. Like that one post I posted the other day. That one resonated with me a lot because I did. I have failed way more times than people have even tried. We got big support here. I'm considering getting in. I know. I just don't like the 500 being right there. Let's look at news real quick. Because I know there was one more news. So existing home sales is right now. It's tough. I don't know. I've already made money. To think that I already made about $500, I'm all right. If you guys won, if you guys made money, and you choose to trade, keep it at one lot maybe. Risk only half of what you gained. Do it in a healthy way. If you made $500, don't risk 500. Risk 200. So even if you lose, you still end the day positive. Do it in a healthy way, guys. A minute and a half left. This is probably because of news. That's what I did. So I'm up in this. You're the gambler though, Yuzo. You are the gambler. Nothing wrong with it. Control it. Control it is all. Find a way to wield the power for good and not evil. Chris, the eSIM. So you can buy it whenever. So you can buy it whenever, and it only starts when you activate it. So when you could like buy it now. I forgot when you're coming. In the next couple days, right? Or tomorrow or some shit like that. But you can buy it now, and then you don't have to activate it until you get here. The only thing is, though, the only reason why I would say, well, it doesn't really matter, because when you activate it, you have to be on Wi-Fi anyway. So I would say whether or not you buy it now or when you land in Vietnam, you have to be connected to Wi-Fi to register it, to like activate it. So yeah, you'll probably end up activating it at the airport though. So if it's me, like when I went to Singapore this time, I bought it and I activated it in the airport, and then I was good to go. So, but it's not like if you buy it now, you're not gonna start using the data now until you. Well, okay, I can't speak on HoloFly. I used AirHub this time, so AirHub doesn't start using the data until you activate it. I don't know about HoloFly. You'll want to look into that. But even so, I would just buy it when you're there. Like buy it and activate it when you're there. Just make sure you can get connection to Wi-Fi. And if you're flying into Saigon, if you're flying into Ho Chi Minh City, the Wi-Fi is decent enough in there that you can buy it and activate it. And it's all from your phone. So it's an eSIM. You know, you don't have to have the physical SIM. Do I turn the data roaming? So turn the data roaming off on your US line. Like my data roaming is always off on my US line. But depending on the eSIM that you use, sometimes they'll have you turning it on. So like my phone number that I used this time with AirHub in Singapore was one of my Hong Kong numbers. Like I have a Hong Kong and I have a China number, and that one requires me to turn data roaming on because the data is technically from Hong Kong, and for me to be in Singapore, I'm technically roaming. So yes, in that point, I had to turn the data roaming on, and then the Hong Kong line would work for me in Singapore. It really just depends though. But when you set it up, you'll know. Like when you set it up, and make sure when you set it up, you're not on airplane mode. So once again, make sure you are your US number is not on. Oh, look at that. Is it gonna go up? Make sure your US number is not on data roaming. Activate it. And then if you don't get if you don't have fucking internet, then you probably have to turn the data roaming on. But it's not too hard. Yeah, and I ended up this time when I was in Singapore, I used AirHub because and that's the thing, like, I mean, you're gonna be in Vietnam, and then I don't know how much time you're spending away from Wi-Fi, because a lot of places have Wi-Fi, you know, so it really just depends. Like for me, when I went to Singapore, like the majority of the places I went to have Wi-Fi, and even if I wasn't in Wi-Fi, I was probably traveling to like the next spot, so all I really needed data for was like Google Maps and shit. And when I would ride my bike, you know, like when I rode the bikes, I had to have data so that I could turn on the app for the bike and shit. So I didn't use Holofly. Holofly is good if you're going to be using a lot of data because they're unlimited, but they are, you know, you're going to pay a little bit more. But it's not that much more. Like for the same amount that I would have paid for Holofly, because I think for the few days that I was there using AirHub, I think I spent $10. $10 for like those 3 or 4 days that I was there, and then Holofly would have been like $20, I think, for unlimited. So if you really think you need the unlimited for whatever reason, Holofly is the way to go. If not, you know, and realistically, I mean, as long as you're not watching YouTube without Wi-Fi, like 1 gigabyte of data should be more than enough, you know, for like a day. Because the majority of the time, I'm always like, even when I think about when I'm here in Vietnam, 99% of the places I go have Wi-Fi. So, and even when I'm in Saigon, like if I'm at the hotel, I've got Wi-Fi. You know, I go to the club, there's Wi-Fi. At the bar, there's Wi-Fi. I go to the office, Wi-Fi. You know, the only time I don't have Wi-Fi is traveling, is when I'm traveling. So, like in the car type shit. But have something. Definitely have something. And even if you don't, you'll be fine. You'll walk to a restaurant or, you know, that has Wi-Fi. Alright guys, it's 9:09 for me, 7:09 for you guys there on the West Coast. We got 30 seconds left on this candle. Price is kind of fighting to see if it wants to break the 500. So that 500 is a doozy. But let's think about it, right? If the 500 wasn't there, we would be expecting a normal gold zone to gold zone push. That's the only, well, there's about 2 things standing in the way. Actually 3. The 100 is right there. So, I mean, if you're in it at 1 lot size, believing in the push, so be it. But we are getting overbought, and the 500 is right there, so I'm not in it because I don't want to lose what I have. Alrighty guys, I'm give it a solid 5 more minutes. Got price rejecting here. And here's the thing guys, if you're in this to the top side, you know, think about what could play support, right? Like this is when you guys start to be strategic about managing your entry when you're in it. You know, like the chances of price rejecting and coming down is pretty high, right? But then what do we have to the downside? We have S1, we have level, and we have perp that could possibly creep up and play as a support. So if you're in this to the top side, depending on when you entered in, you know, I probably have my stop loss at S1 or a little bit below S1. But what do we know? We know that price likes to mess around with perp, right? So seeing as perp is underneath S1, there is a chance that price could come down to the gold zone, which would mean perp would probably creep up and that area could play as a support. So, you know, that's why, yes, I do have hard and fast areas where I say we move stop loss into profit at the level or at the gold zone. But when it's like this, you know, you can kind of make a good decision, because what you also don't want to do, like let's say you entered in at 7 o'clock, right? If you entered in at 7 o'clock and your stop loss is way down over here by S2, that's not very smart, right? It's not very smart, because now we are already above S1, and that is probably about where I would have my stop loss now, because if price is going to break back underneath S1, the likelihood of it coming down is pretty high. So having it here, even though it still might be in negative profit, but it'll still be in a better stop loss than having it underneath the 7 o'clock candle. You know what I mean? Like this is where you guys have to start using, you know, your good analysis and judgment to adjust your stop loss. Like there's no hard and stop with stop losses moving, because technically you can move it whenever the fuck you want, right? But we have our normal gold zone movement, we have our normal level when we like to move stop loss into profit, and in a time like this, I would be having my stop loss at S1. Looking like we still want to get some movement to the top here, right? And then read the candles. You know, be calm, read the candles, let the candles play out. We're about third candle, green liddy candle, looking like we're getting some volume to the top. Somebody new was just talking to me about trading, because they saw me on YouTube and they were like, why don't you show your entries? And I was like, well, there is a method to the madness of the way I teach. And you know, I even remember before, when I used to show all of my entries, it never helped, you know, because one, everybody would copy me, which is fine, but you don't learn, which sucks. But really the biggest thing was new traders, and even you guys yourselves, right? A lot of you guys look up to me because yes, I'm good at this shit. I'm your leader, I'm your teacher, I'm your mentor, I'm whatever. But when I would show my entries and people would see me in an entry and they weren't, or they were in an entry and I wasn't, they would feel some type of way, right? And then they would let that thoughts kind of fuck with them. So that's when I started to, like, I was like, oh, maybe it's better if I don't show my entries, and in a perfect world everybody will end up being the same entry anyways. So, but yeah, it's funny how like psychology plays such a big thing in the way that I teach this to you guys. So we still got some volume to the top. 500 is right there. We are pretty overbought. So right here is the 100. If you guys are looking at, oh, never mind. I thought I saw some volume, but I don't know what I saw. So we got kind of a small doji. Tiny doji. Nah, maybe not. That's more volume to the top side. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if the next candle or two are the candles that show us which direction price wants to go, even if that's down. I think it's going to reject overbought. That's a very good observation. And that's how you have to start thinking about things, right, everybody? Like start, we never expect it though, right? Because the normal movement would be S1 to P gold zone, but because we have to understand every risk, we do. Like we have to. And the thing is, like it's not that we want Steven to be right so that Yuzo's entry is shit, right? Like we don't want that. We're not saying that is what it is, but to understand why it would reject here is powerful for Yuzo to understand as well, right? Because it could, like if it does reject down, you make the executive decision. Do I exit this entry or do I still let it go? So right now we are still getting a little bit volume to the top side. So if we're reading each candle and we're making decisions based off of each candle, if this candle ends in some volume to the top side, I would believe that maybe price does want to continue up. Maybe it's not ready to reject down. And that's the part where we're never 100%, and then there is beauty in understanding that we'll never be perfect, but we're enough. Like being enough is perfect in trading. And when somebody likes to come to me and tells me they're enough because their trading strategy is like 60%, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like 60%, that means your risk to reward has to be pretty high. And that's when I know it's not usually a healthy trading strategy. Yeah, I think Isaiah took the sell-off, not the buy-up. You might be the only one in it, bro. Yuzo might be the only one in it. But I mean, you're in profit right now. So, you're in profit. There's nothing wrong with it, It's a good entry. Did you take the sell-off, Yuzo? Did you take the first entry? I'm saying this directly to you, which I know you know what I'm about to say already. Okay, yeah. But still, like you didn't have to take it up though, Like yes, you're in profit now, but remember, if you're in profit off the first, you don't. And I'm only saying that to you because you already know why. And for anybody else that likes to, risk their winnings, I'm going to say it's all up to you. Right? It's all up to you what you want to do. At least for me, when I look at the data of, this far in my career of trading, even for you guys, like, it is, if I put my earnings on a graph, it is just consistently up. Like, it's not a huge tick up, right? It's not like I'm going up $10,000 a day, but incrementally. And that's one thing that you guys have to understand about, investments, quote unquote, because this is technically investing. Slow gains are good gains, right? Even like with working out or losing weight or accomplishing a new skill, slow gains are good gains because it's gains that you can fully understand and implement and keep over time. So I only stress that because the instant gratification of winning a lot can screw your mindset up, And this is a blanket statement. This is for everybody. Like, yes, winning long runs and things, like winning 1, 2 entries, 3 entries is good, as long as you can handle your own mentality when you lose. Like, I really don't care, right? And you guys already know this. You guys have been trading with me long enough that you guys all have experienced back-to-back days where you won, or 3 days in a row when you won, and then you've experienced a loss, and then maybe you've experienced back-to-back days when you've lost. So if you got control over how you leverage your account, and if you have control over your emotions, I would say do whatever you want. But until you do that, you got to stick to doing something that feels uncomfortable, even though it's going to reward you in the end. Because that's how it is for everybody. Even for myself, when I first started trading, I loved when I ran. I loved when I had these big runs where I took big amounts of money, and I was like, that's the dopamine kick. I love it, but it does interfere with long term. It does interfere with the long term trading. So $9.21. I'll give it 4 more minutes on this day. We're at the 500 now. Kind of figuring out what we want to do. Once again, what would I be thinking? What should you guys be thinking if you're in it? But we're at the 500. Like, do you trail the candles at this point, right? Because price could reject here the 500, but price could also still run up. So it's all decisions you guys will make. For me, if we're at the 500 like this, I'm gonna be trailing the candle. If I would be trailing like this current candle right underneath it, underneath the wick of it. And if it shoots up, great. If it doesn't, great. Because it's not only if I make money too, it's like I want to be done. That's always gonna be my thing. And some people always tell me, you're just lazy. I'm like, no, like, I'm fucking strategic. What? In what world is making money and then stopping as soon as possible to go live life lazy? It's strategic. And that's why the majority doesn't understand what the hell we're doing. So we got price rejecting here a little bit. Once again, we're in dangerous rejection territory, being overbought. Oh shit, I forgot to send my video over. I want to go back to Singapore, man. I ended up striking up a deal with one of the banks there, so I'll probably be going there more often. You know what's crazy is the day I had posted when I went to that, I think it's Koba or Koka or whatever Japanese restaurant. That restaurant is beautiful. If you guys ever go to Singapore, go to that restaurant. They own the same business, the same company that owns that restaurant is Tao nightclub. So the same Tao in like all the big cities and shit like that. But so right next door is Tao. It's in like a mall. It's crazy because Singapore is just that fucking nice that they can have a big ass nightclub in a mall. But it's and a Vegas sized nightclub. But yeah, it's connected to Tao nightclub, and it's beautiful. Like, they got money. Like, even looking up, I'm like, yeah, this feels like a Vegas nightclub. But long story short, what I was trying to say is, I made that deal in like the afternoon, and then that's when I went and I bought, some shit at Loewe, and then between like 2 hours, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go eat at this Japanese restaurant. I didn't tell nobody. Only like the person that was with me knew. And then next thing I know, when I get there, they have like all this congratulations stuff for me. And I was like, how the fuck did you guys know? They were like, oh, the bank called us and told us that you would be dining here. I was like, I didn't even tell anybody. Like, how the fuck did they know? They was like, we don't know, but it's Singapore, and people with money always know where everybody with money goes. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, and the crazy part was I made the reservation with the restaurant like 20 minutes, like 20. I think it was like 5 o'clock, and then I made the reservation for like 5:30 or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. These motherfuckers got tabs on me or something, but they had a whole congratulations thing, and I was like, you guys, Singapore scares me sometimes because they got a lot of Chinese money there. Not that I'm afraid of the Chinese, but I just know that those motherfuckers, they got tabs on everything. But yeah, Singapore's nice. I like it. It's like a resort island, I feel. It's like what I would think Hawaii was if Hawaii stopped fucking around and started actually doing something good instead of bitching. I always have these conversations with my friends and family too. I'm like, guys, Hawaii could be loaded with money. Even the locals could, but we just play victim too much. It's sad. Sad, sad, sad. Especially when we know like tourism is really our only tourism and hospitality is the only thing. If it wasn't for the military, Hawaii would be like Micronesia, or Hawaii would be like fucking, I don't know, like Samoa or New Zealand. And no hate on New Zealand, sorry Yuzo, but we'd be back in time. You know, like if it wasn't for the American government, you know, despite how people want to view it, I'm like, there's goods and bads to everything. The one thing that they ain't got a lot. We got nothing, bro. We have nothing. We have coconut shells, and oh well, you can get coconut shells anywhere actually. We have macadamia nut shells. Actually, you can get more macadamia nuts from like the Philippines though. You can get more macadamia nuts from the Philippines than you can in Hawaii. I would say coffee, but no, Dole plantation, but even no, more pineapples come from Philippines and Mexico than it does Hawaii. Like Hawaii has nothing. So that's why when I talk to my friends and family, and I have a lot of family, I'm like quarter Hawaiian, believe it or not. I know I look Asian as fuck, but my family all runs like kui kapono and all this type of, you know, give us the sovereign land back shit. And I'm like, guys, you know, there's nothing that you guys can offer the world, and that's one thing you have to understand is like the world now, and as of the last 20 years, they have exactly right. They have Stitch, motherfuckers. Like, oh, we got, but you know, there's so much good that can come from all of that. You know, even though we joke around about it right now, but it really is how you look at it, right? Because the majority of my friends and family there look at everything as like the same way black people and Mexicans, oh, more black people, how they look at reparations and things in America. You know, that's a whole another hole to go down. But you know, they look at it the same way as like gimme, 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 and playing victim. And yes, people are gonna be like, oh, Ed, you talk like this now because you know you got a little bit of money. I'm like, that's the point, guys. Like, I've figured it out. Right? Like I didn't just stay there and bitch about things. I figured it out. So if I can do it, like anybody can. Their journey may not be the same as mine, but anybody has the opportunity to be better than they currently are. You know, because we are in America. Like I don't care what anybody wants to say. They'll say opportunities are not the same. It is not. At least in the last 10 and 20 years, the opportunities are the same. Like they are. But it's the victim mentality that a lot of people play that makes them feel like they're not getting the same opportunities. And I'm like, it's, you know, nobody told you to go to the interview in fucking cargo shorts and a shirt. You know, like that's maybe why you didn't get hired. It's not because your name is Javante Tavis. That's not. It's because you didn't show up. You know, in a presentable attire. I got a few homies in Portland. That's why, and they're always asking me, like, and why is it so unfair? Because I have a couple friends too who are therapists. You know, and I was like, you are. I know you went to school. I know you did your time to get your therapy, whatever credentials and shit like that. But I'm like, you're in no way healthy enough to be a therapist to people who need therapy. You know what I mean? Like, especially when you, and I know people are gonna say like, well, that's personal life and that's professional life. I'm like, that's the point. Is like, when you become a therapist to people in need of your therapy within the community, like, it's a very personal thing. I don't care what anybody wants to fucking say. Like, yes, it is a professional environment, but it's a very personal thing. And I'm like, and I talked to her and I'm like, I know who you are. Like, you are not like, I wouldn't even talk to you about therapy, you know. It's not because it is because I don't trust her, actually, though, because I don't. And that's the one thing that they had told me was, they are not fixers, they are just good listeners. And I was like, okay, that makes sense, because you're not trying to fix anybody, whatever. They are just there to allow people to be vulnerable, and let them be their best selves. And I was like, okay, that's good, but then how you respond to them can really dictate how they end up reacting, and then changing, right? And I was like, yeah, that's kind of my point. Like, you're already broken. It's like the blind leading the blind. I don't care what kind of credentials. Like, I don't know, if I fucking go and kill somebody, I'm still a fucking felony killer, you know? And then I might go to school and get a doctorate's degree, but, you know, people will still look at me and be like, oh, that's the fucking lawyer that killed somebody. You know, like, they're still going to take that into consideration. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them, because to be a killer, you know, it takes a certain, you know, I think I know I could. To protect, I would, you know, but man, yeah, once again, that's a whole fucking, it goes down a deep hole. But yeah, Hawaii doesn't have much to offer the world, you know. So if you don't have leverage, later, Isaiah, I'm about to dig out too, but if you don't have leverage, you got to make a deal. That's about it, you know. The same way, like, I'm not saying the way, like, the natives' land in America was taken away is the right thing, but they did get a lot, you know. They did get a lot. So Hawaii could do the same, but fortunately our politicians are too proud, you know. And my mom helps out with a lot of the politicians and shit over there. She's like the unofficial mayor. But yeah, I'm always like, you guys all only care about how you guys look to the public. And I was like, that's kind of the problem. Like, you guys say you guys are there to be the mouth and the voice of the people, but really all you care about is how you look to the people who you say you're the voice of the people. I was like, that doesn't make sense. That means you're not even a puppet master. You're just a puppet with the ability to speak, you know. And sometimes they don't like when I say shit like that, but I'm like, it's true. Like, you're not helping the issues that the people have. You're just speaking on behalf of them, giving no good thought, education, knowledge, or experience. You know, it's tough. It's tough, and that's why I had to move away. I'm not saying Hawaii is a bad place at all. I love it. It's where I was born and raised. I wouldn't change a thing about the way I was raised. I do think the way I was raised there you can't replicate that, you know, ever. Now more than ever, you can't replicate it because of the way the world has gone. But there's a certain point where, yes, you are beating a dead horse, you know. And when I was about 17, 18 years old, I already realized that, and that's when I decided to move off. So. And it's quick, right? Like, you got to make these decisions quickly. Because when I think about when I made the decision to move off, and I'm 34 now, you know, and when did my little bit of success came when I was about 24, 25, you know, so it took me, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. It took me 7 years. It took me 7 years to get to the point where I was, you know, comfortable. So, if, you know, average that out. Like, if it took me 7 years, it might take some other people longer than that, or it might take them shorter than that if they implemented the things that I have to tell them and experienced. But that all depends on how you look at shit. So, but on average, if it took me 7 years and I'm not that bright, I can only imagine it's going to take other people who are not that bright even longer, you know. Like,
I am not that smart. I will say that. I'm street smart, very, very street smart. I can figure out how to get shit done, or I can find somebody who can get shit done, but I'm not that smart. No. I'm just very, very strategic. That's it. I'm just very strategic. Like, whatever it is, I can figure it out on how to get it done. Sometimes is it the most efficient? Hell no. But I get it done, and then I learn, and from that experience, I learn how to be more efficient after that. But the point is, I take the risk that most people don't even take. So that's I implement that every day. Like even this trip that I went to Singapore, that was I went to go talk to a bank. It's Mitsubishi. Like Mitsubishi company has, you know, they're a big corporation, and this is their Singapore branch bank. But yeah, they're like trillions of dollars, and I'm just some dude. I didn't even come in a suit. I didn't even go in a suit. I was like, fuck them. They're gonna understand who I truly am. And yes, like business in Asia, sometimes you do need, you know, a suit. But I was like, nah, this is a very casual thing. I invited them out, you know. I was like, I'm just gonna show them who I am, and it works 99% of the time. But I also know when I need to be in a suit, so I'm not that fucking dumb. But yeah, taking that risk is something most people are going to be like, what? Like you put yourself in front of like these executives who, you know, run a $1 trillion, $14 trillion corporation. I'm like, yeah, why not? Like, like they were once like you and I, you know, they once had nothing and then they had something. So, you know, that's one thing I quickly learned was to stop putting people on pedestals because everybody was once broke. Well, maybe not, but everybody was once vulnerable enough until they became confident. So, but there's confidence in being vulnerable that helps you to get beyond that. Price is rejecting there, Steven. You called it. Rejection of the 500 overbought. Price is coming down. Solid. I hope you're out of this, Yuzo. Alrighty, guys. I'm gonna GTFO. Good. Good shit. Alrighty, guys. Tomorrow's Friday. I will see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your guys' day. I'm gonna post my video right now, so I'll hit you guys up later. Peace, peace, peace. Laters, everybody.